So this is the end of bag 12, and so the front end is done. Because lo and behold, there is a bag 13. So this thing, which I thought was just going to have wheels and tires in it, turns out it has another bag of stuff. So this thing actually has 13 bags of parts. More building to do. This is the completed Lego Bugatti Chiron, and I thought I'd show you some of the features of the model. First of all, it's 6.4 pounds of Lego. But it's also very robust. I have the Porsche GT3, and I noticed picking it up how flexible it is, and that was 2,700 parts, and that was 5.2 pounds total weight. So they've made a pretty robust model here. The engine compartment, you've got what is probably supposed to be the intake manifold and stickers that it's a W16 engine. This doesn't open, unfortunately, but you do get a fairly decent look at the engine. Interior, they went to a lot of effort to get the color scheme of leather. And again, there's the gear shifter. Now, one thing on the Porsche, they actually put a label down there to show which direction is forward, which direction is reverse and neutral. So I'm kind of guessing that thing clicked forward is going to be forward, and that's reverse, and that's neutral. Let's see, going around the front, there's the serial number, which they do on these big models. They did on the Porsche. I think that's the first one they did this with. But this has a serial number, which I can look up online. Supposedly there's some extra goodies I can access. And then there's luggage. There's a little zipper bag that says Chiron on it. It kind of goes right there. And the Porsche had that too, but it was actually a little, not as nice. It actually didn't have a bottom to it. It was really more of a something for show. Well, so is this, but at least it has a bottom to it. And we have steering. Steering wheel, full suspension, of course. But it is rather pretty. You know, they did a lot of work on the back end of this, which I think I showed on a prior video. A lot of detail that they put into this. So I'm pretty happy with this. I think it's great. You know, along with it's heavier, more robust than the Porsche. One of the other things I like about this is that they came up with a better approach for the floppy paddle shifters, which is down here instead of someplace to put your feet. The ones on the Porsche they're harder to use, and they almost don't look like floppy paddle shifters. You have to actually know, and I've got helpy helpers. One unusual feature of this model is this key, which has a Chiron sticker on it. And the purpose of this, fold out this rod, is to be inserted inside the wheel well here in the back, and it is used to raise and lower, if I can get it to engage one-handed, to raise and lower the high-speed spoiler, which supposedly is only deployed on high-speed runs. This thing is capable of over 260 miles an hour. So that becomes very useful for increasing downforce in the back when you're doing 260 miles an hour. Another point I want to make about this build is that I think Lego has improved their part portioning process when they fill the bags in the factory. Most of the major parts, major things like Technic pins, the blue pins in particular, there were just enough to do the build. And in the past, for example, in the Porsche and some other builds, there have been quite a few more leftover parts. I mean, this is the collection of leftovers, and some of this is actually, this pin right here, I couldn't find what I was trying to do, actually, the rear end of the vehicle. So back here, buried in here, on this side, is, instead of this light gray, it's a black one that I pulled out of my inventory when I couldn't find this pin. And there were actually a number of times when I couldn't find parts, and I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to call Lego, I'm gonna have to get online, order extra parts. This is just kind of miserable, and just keep looking and looking, and you finally find them. So I can explain that one. This one I'm a little curious about, and I looked back through the instructions and I couldn't find, it's a piece of tubing, and it's a trim part that goes somewhere in principle. Might actually be a duplicate of that tubing that kind of defines the interior. You see the piece of tubing that arcs up and connects up into the top, into the roof of the car. But kind of overall, for the more critical parts, I think they've become better at portioning out. But I do see still a lot of these black Technic pins and some of these other parts that I've seen in the past, and I've kind of collected for cases where I get another build and something's missing. I've got some back stock. So that aside, still a wonderful build. Still had a lot of fun doing it, and again, want to thank my daughter Katie for buying it for me for Father's Day. Thank you, Katie.